Yellow. Welcome to Vice Grip Garage. That's my 1989 K 2500. Anyway, I'd like to fix on the old 69 GMC a little bit more.
Derek Bieri from Vice Grip Garage went from wrenching on rusty, forgotten cars in the middle of nowhere to building one of the most talked-about automotive channels on YouTube. But recently, things have been feeling different. People are asking questions, rumors are flying around, and fans can't help but wonder, what's the real story? Today, we have the full story. So, don't blink, don't skip, and definitely don't click away. Because once you hear the full story of what actually happened to Derek Bieri, you'll never look at Vice Grip Garage the same way again. Come along. Why Derek Bieri left corporate life to follow his passion. Long before millions of people found themselves glued to their screens, watching old rusty cars get a second chance at life. Derek Bieri's day-to-day looked very different. He wasn't wearing oil-stained jeans or flannel shirts back then. Instead, he was buttoning up crisp business suits and walking into boardrooms, shaking hands with executives, and discussing numbers that had nothing to do with horsepower. People often wonder how someone so deeply tied to cars could spend years in such a different world, and Derek himself admitted that even though cars had been a part of his childhood, life initially steered him toward a polished corporate career. He worked hard, built his name in the business world, and climbed ladder after ladder until he was sitting in high-level positions, sometimes as a president, sometimes as a C-level officer, and at other times as a business owner. On paper, he had made it. But beneath all of that success was a man who, as he would later reveal, felt far more at home in a garage than in any corner office. And isn't it fascinating how someone can appear to have everything, yet still feel as if something essential is missing? That's the part of the story most people don't see. The part where dreams achieved don't always feel like dreams lived. And if you've ever wondered why someone would walk away from comfort, recognition, and even the life others envy, you'll want to stay with me right up to the very end of this video. Because only then will the full picture come together, and you'll truly understand. Derek's story didn't shift overnight. For years, he poured his energy into the corporate grind, mastering strategies, running teams, and showing the kind of determination people often associate with leaders. He achieved what many people dream of: financial stability, influence, and respect. But behind the polished exterior, he admitted he was slowly being pulled in another direction. He liked what he had achieved, but he confessed that the structured routine of the corporate world didn't feel like where he truly belonged. Eventually, the pull became too strong to ignore. Derek described the shift in the simplest yet most telling way. He said he had traded his suit jacket for a flannel. That single sentence captured years of change and the decision to step away from desks and conference calls and step back into the smell of grease and gasoline. When he first dipped his toes into content creation, the beginnings were as humble as anyone could imagine. Derek once told the story of how he simply taped a broken iPhone to a garage door one night, rolled a Camaro into the frame, and started working on it with nothing more than determination and a small block paired with a 4-speed. He remembered thinking, "Hey, I could do that. I just gotta learn how to film." That was it. No polished studio, no perfect plan, just one man with a dream, a garage, and an old car. Isn't it interesting how some of the biggest changes in life often start with the smallest and simplest steps? His move away from office life wasn't only about chasing a hobby, it was about finding freedom. Derek admitted that during big meetings, when he was supposed to be focused on strategies, budgets, or presentations, his mind often wandered back to cars. He was thinking about engines instead of charts, and that told him something important. His passion was elsewhere. The corporate world gave him security, but it never gave him the fulfillment he craved. He wanted to set his own schedule, make his own choices, and follow his own passions instead of simply following profit margins. He realized that success without joy was a kind of quiet trap, and that thought pushed him toward change. What made his story even more remarkable was how his years in business didn't go to waste. Instead, those same skills he had sharpened in the corporate world, organization, leadership, planning, and strategy, became powerful tools when he began building what would eventually become Vice Grip Garage. Viewers only saw the old cars, the hard work, and the charm of his down-to-earth style. But behind the scenes was someone who knew how to manage growth, handle challenges, and think big. It turned out that his business background didn't clash with his new life. It fueled it. Isn't it almost poetic how the very thing that once pulled him away from his passion ended up helping him build it stronger than ever? As Vice Grip Garage grew, so did the demands of the channel. This wasn't just a hobby anymore. It became a full-time endeavor that required structure, planning, and a lot of dedication. His wife Jessica eventually joined him in the journey, leaving her own teaching career to help manage the whirlwind of responsibilities that came with their success. The couple proved that this wasn't only about cars, it was about creating a life that aligned with who they were at their core. Together, they poured their efforts into making the channel resonate with people, staying true to Derek's philosophy of keeping builds budget-friendly and making car restoration accessible to everyday folks. At the end of the day, Derek's journey was a story of courage, as much as it was about cars. He showed that it's possible to walk away from something safe and stable in order to chase something meaningful. His path reminded people that fulfillment often hides behind risks, and that sometimes leaving a suit behind for a flannel can be the most powerful decision of all. After all, what's the point of success if it doesn't make you feel alive? His journey didn't just prove that passion, persistence, and the courage to start over can change the course of a career. It showed that those choices can completely redefine a person's sense of self. And maybe that's why his story feels so universal. Because deep down, we've all wondered if it's ever too late to trade in the life we know for one that finally feels like home. If you stick with me till the very end, you'll see how those childhood moments didn't just shape his mechanical mindset. They became the blueprint for everything he would go on to achieve. What makes Vice Grip Garage different from other car channels? Vice Grip Garage has managed to carve out a space for itself in the crowded world of automotive YouTube channels. And Derek Bieri, the man behind it, has done this in a way that feels almost effortless, yet deeply intentional. With more than 2.07 million subscribers tuning in, people often say there is something about Derek's approach that feels very different from the usual car restoration content they might stumble upon online. Instead of polished productions filled with pricey parts and flashy upgrades, Derek focuses on what he calls budget-friendly builds and real-world repairs. And this simple choice alone has given his channel a kind of charm that few others capture. After all, isn't it more exciting when someone takes what looks like a hopeless pile of rust and breathes life back into it, instead of showing a project that only a wealthy enthusiast could ever afford to attempt? Derek often explains that his mission has always been to save pieces of automotive history from being forgotten, or worse, crushed and lost forever. And since 2005, he has reportedly pulled over 1,000 vehicles back from the brink. He makes it clear that he does not care if it's a Ford, a Chevy, or an odd import nobody remembers. The point is that every car deserves a second chance. What makes his work even more approachable is his humor, which fans describe as disarmingly genuine. He begins many of his videos with a line that has become something of a signature. "I'm an idiot. Do what I do at your own risk." To some, this might sound like a throwaway joke, but for his loyal viewers, it is part of what makes Derek relatable. They say it sets the tone immediately, letting everyone know this is not about showing off expertise, but about sharing the ups and downs of the process in an honest way. People often ask themselves, how often do you really see a creator admit failure on camera when so many others prefer to cut away the rough parts and only show the perfect outcome? Derek does not shy away from his mistakes, and because of that, people feel they are learning alongside him rather than being lectured by someone far removed from their own level of skill. His self-deprecating humor, paired with his willingness to show the full picture, creates an atmosphere that feels more like watching a friend tinker in his garage than consuming a polished piece of content from a distant personality. Still, humor and honesty are only part of the equation. What really pulls viewers in, as many of them put it, is Derek's gift for storytelling. He insists that every vehicle has its own history, and he treats that history with respect. When he discovers an abandoned car, he doesn't just dive straight into turning a wrench. He takes the time to imagine who owned it, what roads it might have traveled, and why it ended up sitting forgotten for years. Each project then becomes less about just fixing a machine and more about uncovering a story. Isn't that what keeps people watching until the end? The desire to see whether the old engine will roar back to life, and in a way, continue telling its story. Viewers often remark that Derek's content feels like a journey, starting with the discovery of a vehicle on the verge of being lost and ending with the almost magical moment of hearing it come back alive. That arc, that complete beginning-to-end experience, is what makes his videos feel so rewarding. In the end, what Derek Bieri has built with Vice Grip Garage goes beyond car restoration. It is about making people feel included, whether they are experienced mechanics or complete beginners who simply enjoy the ride. It is about humor that breaks down walls and honesty that makes failure feel like part of the fun. It is about stories that remind everyone that even an old, forgotten car still has a voice worth listening to. And really, isn't that why so many people keep coming back? Not just to watch another restoration, but to hear another story, laugh at another self-deprecating joke, and feel, if only for a moment, that they are right there in the garage with him? Derek's channel stands out because it is not just about cars. It is about people, about connection, and about the reminder that even the things we think are beyond saving might still have a little life left in them. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.